Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. And this Friday, I have Mr. BJ Rowe. He's the editor-in-chief of Metal Nexus. And we're going to be talking about Metal Nexus, Astroworld, and several other festivals. And plus, we're going to talk about, so we got some albums we're going to talk about here, split plus All Hell the Yeti's new EP. I might as well just say an album, but it's an EP, but we're talking about that, and possibly once Waylon gets on here, we're going to be talking about Limp Bizkit's new album, Still Sucks. So we're going to be talking about that. So what's going on, BJ, my buddy?
Hey, it's going, brother.
Glad to have you on here, man. So what's up in the Metal Nexus? What's going on? Because I see you guys posting like albums and stuff like that, but what's all going on behind the scenes?
It's a little slow getting back into things. You know, everybody's kind of lost their stamina going in from COVID. You know, there was a period there where there was no albums being released. Everybody was hanging on to them. Then there was a flood of albums released. But our bread and butter has always been our live show coverage. You know, photos and tour reviews and stuff like that. So, you know, a lot of these like festivals, you know, like I covered Louder Than Life, but we couldn't get any photos, couldn't get any interviews. But still enjoyed the festival. The festival still had us there, you know, and we got to, you know, enjoy it. Our photographer Jeff Koons in Minnesota has went and seen the big Megadeth tour. And Jansen, our guy over in England, hasn't really been able to do much over there. They've been locked down. You know, shows are just kicking back off, thankfully. But looks like the festivals are doing good. Louder Than Life got voted best global festival. Welcome to Rockville had more in attendance this year than I think they've ever had.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like you just said, there's not many festivals that you can actually choose from. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm glad to see these festivals here, especially those two, get a lot of folks to come out to it because hell, they should have had the big attendance to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Those are huge festivals in my book.
Well, I think everybody was eager to get back out and see a show.
Sure.
And I think too, even though there's a lot of people there, I think that it's a much safer environment to see it outdoors at a festival rather than everybody packed in a club or something.
Yeah, I agree with that because you're stuck in a club next to somebody who's hacking and going on, and it's like, oh god, what's going on? All right, we got Mr. Waylon on here. Let me grab him. Hello, Waylon, sir. You're on. Oh, look at there.
What up, brother?
Oh. BJ smiling ear to ear. He's already happy. He's already done.
Oh yeah, getting turned already.
He's
we got Santa Pod in here this evening.
Well, he mentioned me about that. He was like, he almost put me on the naughty list. So I was like,
you can't be Santa Bod until at least after Thanksgiving.
Well, I'm Santa Bod right now, and then Metal Claus.
The great debate.
Metal Claus is going to be here next Friday. So I'll just leave it at that. Metal Claus is going to be on here because he's a Black Label guy, you know, a lot of heavy stuff. So like, oh, okay. If that's what you want, sir. But he was kind of, as always, I'm making somebody mad, and he was kind of ticked off because I called him Santa Bod, and he's like, "You're Santa Bod. I'm Metal Claus." I was like, "Okay."
Well,
so,
fine, man.
All right. Anyway,
what's going on, gentlemen? How are we?
Good. Yeah, we was talking about festivals, how they did this year, which I didn't get to attend Louder Than Life because I'm very upset about that still. I have to catch myself every time because, you know, I had to hold it back a little bit.
You could have went to Welcome to Rockville and seen some like R. Kelly inspiration go down on stage.
No, I don't want to see her on that brass.
Kelly meets Gigi Allen.
That was Gigi would have been so proud.
Yeah.
I mean, Well, I just don't know what was going through her mind at that time. I mean,
She
the guy.
That's what was going through her mind.
Well, I know she had to use the bathroom, but I mean, my God.
Same
I mean,
thing that was going through her bladder.
Yeah, I'm not really supporting it or hating on it. I mean, like they're not a punk band, so I mean they can't take that alley. But that dude was like, she didn't hold him down and make him do it. I mean,
No,
he
he's
was
just
a
like,
willing participant.
yeah.
Yeah, he seemed into it.
Yeah,
From what I've heard.
like from the video I seen, like he had his mouth open and everything.
Yeah, it was horrible. Nasty.
Yeah.
Nasty.
I mean,
Natty.
you know
What a
what
Chad.
Dave Chappelle said? You know, close your eyes, show me your face, I'll piss on it.
Gonna pee on it. I piss on you. I pee on you.
No. Fuck
You
your
know,
cow.
I'm kind of surprised the band just didn't boot her because she's basically a hired gun. You know, they've had several different singers. It's just that she was the most popular one that did the rage songs. So they
Wow.
kind of ran with her.
We jumped right into the brass against pissing episode.
You know, they're supposed to go on a European tour with Tool.
I'd say
So,
they're European.
It's very fitting, right?
Yeah.
I just
She's
wonder
a
if that
tour.
will still happen. Like, I'm sure it don't offend Maynard, but
I saw where they said the cops were investigating it now.
yeah.
But if the guy was willing, I mean, I'm like BJ. I saw it. The guy was just laying there like,
Well, they could get her for like indecent exposure, I guess, but like, I think the angle that she used was to where nobody could see anything but some thigh.
yeah. Or maybe she did that because she wanted out of the band or something other. She's like, I'll go out with a blast.
There's easier ways to get out of a band.
Well,
He said, I have always pushed the limits in music and stage. That night I pushed the limits too far.
Yeah. I read that, yeah.
Was she high, you think? You think she was like...
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I just saw the photo of them talking about it. I didn't see exactly what led up to it. You know, how the guy got on stage or whatever. If she invited him on stage, or I'm sure if he just got on stage, they would have tackled his ass and threw him off there. You know, but who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Could have been a hired guy out there. Hey, just come on up here. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy definitely wrote about that night in his journal when he got home.
Oh, I guarantee it. And I guarantee you, I guarantee people were taking photos with him after that. Guarantee it.
So people, used to years ago, people wanted signatures. Then it moved to selfies. Now it's golden showers.
Blaming on Belle Delphine because it's selling that bathwater.
I know, right?
This is where we go, boys.
Gamer girl bathwater.
Yeah, when we say it's a slippery slope, this is what we mean.
What was she sold somebody like a whole bottle of spit once.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Like, dude, this girl made like $500,000 selling bathwater.
She's wealthy because of selling spit, bathwater, naked pictures, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and some of her videos are like creepy.
It's crazy.
I haven't seen any of them, but I think the whole premise is fucking creepy. So
yeah, I used to watch the H3 podcast a lot, and they always talked about her on there. That's where I learned about her.
Yeah, that's some wild stuff, boys.
Yeah,
that was
especially when you're on the H3 podcast, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. So I want to talk about Louder Than Life for next year. Who do you think, BJ, will possibly headline? I mean, we had Metallica 2 nights this year. Then we had Judas Priest. Is that correct?
Yep. And of course, I watched Richie Faulkner have a heart attack on stage.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Literally during Painkiller, dude had a heart attack, finished the song, and went to the hospital.
Oh my God. So how did he even act like different on stage that you could see, or what?
I would have never known, man. I left there thinking like, man, he killed it tonight. I didn't think like, man, that dude had a heart attack.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Hey man, when you're out performing, you get used to just trucking through it, man, just soldiering through whatever the hell's bothering you. And he's probably like, man, my shoulder's killing me, bro. Like, and then come to find out he's just having a heart attack. Yeah. That's crazy.
But the good news is, I mean, he's like, I thought I saw he was like 100% or 90-some% healed. That's what he said. So, He's very lucky.
Man,
Very lucky.
If I had to guess about a headliner for next year's festivals, I would say a reunited Blink 182 because Tom DeLounge just come out this week and said that he was down to reunite with the band, that he thinks it's time, that it's just about getting all their schedules right.
Yeah.
So is he done talking about aliens and shit?
Oh, of course not.
No, of course not.
that will go on forever. I mean, like he's basically got government access now to like Area 51 from what he said on Joe Rogan's podcast. Like,
yeah,
it is to talk to higher authorities.
he's a product of MK Ultra for sure.
Oh yeah. Have y'all listened to his Angels and Airwaves stuff?
Yeah, dude. I think he's a good musician. Honestly,
yeah,
like
it's great.
It's pretty good stuff.
Being a good musician comes with a small amount of crazy, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. You have to be you have to be a little bit batshit crazy to write good lyrics. I mean,
but I mean, something I told the boys in my band too is like, boys, now listen. We were talking about like communicating among the band at one point, and I was like, here's the deal. None of us would be trying to pursue a living playing music if we were mentally healthy, well-adjusted people. We'd be working at a factory somewhere with a white picket fence. We would not be trying to be musicians for a living.
So even I have to agree. I would like to see them get back together because I dug some Blink 182. But look at Mark. He just got battling cancer.
Well, they said that he's in full remission right now. And I think that's what kind of pushed them to want to do this because they said they've always talked about getting back together. It was just, when the time was right. Tom's definitely the one, the holdout.
Check this all out, though, man. That band's been through hell because, we had Mark now with his cancer ordeal. We've had Travis, who was in a plane crash a couple years ago.
Survived a plane crash.
Exactly, brother.
And just recently flew again for the first time since then.
Wow.
Like that, Leonard Skinner.
Yeah.
God, my podcast is going to go down in flames.
No, it's not, John. That's not that bad. Come on.
Oh.
It's been damn near 50 years. We could
Gary Rossington's like cussing you all to hell right now.
Oh, I guarantee it. Motherfucker. Give my guitar. Right, play Freebird. I'm playing Freebird right now.
I'd have a beef with Leonard Skinner. I'd do that. Start writing diss tracks. Southern rock diss tracks.
Who's retired? Who's had more farewell tours, Kiss or Skinner?
Skinner.
Right, Skinner, dude.
Yeah.
Skinner, hands down. There's another one. I'd say Kiss will be possibly a headliner next year.
Well, they already announced their headline in Rockville next year.
Well, there you go.
They announced it. I can't remember who the other ones were. Kiss, Foo Fighters.
Yep. Was Chili Peppers one of them? No, I don't think so. I saw it too, BJ.
Let's check here real quick.
I want to say Rob Zombie, but I don't think it is.
No.
The Technicolor Nightmare.
God, wish. I'd just like to be playing on a stage that's like a half mile of that place.
Kiss, Korn, Guns N' Roses, Foo Fighters.
That's who it was.
I think this whole Guns N' Roses thing is going to implode eventually. This is not going to last forever. I mean, we're dealing with Axl Rose here.
And there's rumors of them coming out with a new album. So
I've seen Slash say something like that.
Who knows? I'd like to see it happen, but I'm like you, man. It's a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
It's like
boys, we've gotten to the point. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, John.
Oh no, you're fine. Go ahead.
We've gotten to the point where, like, good God, give some newer bands some of these headline slots, man. Like, there's not a band on this lineup that's in the headline slots for Rockville next year that's any less than 20 years old. Well, and it's just the weirdest mismatch of genres. I don't know.
Well, I understand that to a degree because they're trying to pull different fan bases for like each day. Mm-hmm. So I definitely understand that. But like I don't understand these festival goers, and I mean all kinds of these festival groups. I don't understand these people that want to see the same band every year. Like me personally, I want to see as many bands as possible. I don't want to see Korn 674 times. Like I
Right.
like Korn. I have nothing against them. I just don't want to see them every year at the festival.
There's a band from Germany that I wish they would get to come over here called Tenside. I've talked about Tenside ever since I did the online radio show I did a couple years ago. They are phenomenal. They are very, very heavy. They're a very good band. I understand COVID and everything, but still, yeah, let's spice it up a little bit. Let's get some newer bands. And I know they're trying. But it's just hard when you can only get who you can get,
It's
The
like
big thing about these foreign bands is if they're not a headliner, it's really expensive for them to come here. Visa costs and all that, so they have to like schedule a tour around a festival, appearance just to make it pay for itself.
if it does that, even if
Yeah,
it even breaks
usually
even.
they just break even.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know, man. Like obviously, from a perspective of having the draw, it makes perfect sense. Like having these big bands that have been around for well, let's see, 50 years, 40 years, probably 25 years, another 25, almost 30 years. Like it makes sense from a draw perspective having those guys in there. But it's kind of like overfishing. You know what I mean? Like you're getting these people in here and you're making your money on them now. But what happens when those people age out of like going to festivals and things of that nature? What happens to the rock scene?
Well, they're trying to get these people so they won't age out. That's why they're bringing in the geriatric bands like Kiss, so the old folk will come in and they
Right.
make sure that it's not on a weeknight, or on like a Sunday because people have to work Monday. I mean, they're fierce about how they schedule this stuff. And not only that, but on the other end of the spectrum, that's why they book people like Jelly Roll and Machine Gun Kelly before the punk pop stuff, pop punk, trying to draw in like, if they have two rap acts, they'll get some rap fans, some hip hop fans. That's somebody they wouldn't have got normally with their regular lineup.
Right.
I don't have a problem with them adding rap groups into the festivals. I don't have a problem with that. I know a lot of people do, but I don't. I have no problem with that.
I think diversity. I think, and that's weird. It's weird where I fall. Like I almost contradict myself because I think diversity is good.
Yeah.
As far as like what I said about that being a weird mishmash of headlining bands, like diversity is good, obviously, but I don't know, man. You just got to start giving some of these younger bands a chance.
Yeah.
We got to make new rock fans. That's what I'm getting at. Is like, what happens when the geriatric crowd is like?
You'll see some new bands at some of these festivals, but you won't see them before noon. Like after like
boomers.
11 o'clock.
They're boomers.
Well, I mean, but the rock scene still treats like Bring Me the Horizon like they're a new thing. And those dudes have been going for like 15, 16, 17 years.
Well, I think with that big like pop album they put out, they probably deserve to be treated like a different band.
Right there.
Like I'm a fan of most of their work, but that last album they put out, man, it was totally different.
Look at that one. Yeah, is it after the one that's got like Parasite Eve and stuff like that on it?
I can't. It's the one where they wanted to go like pop, super poppy. Like it was not like post hardcore anymore. It's like post hardcore.
Post.
Yeah. But speaking of albums, what about the new Limp Bizkit album? Your thoughts? Does it still suck?
Yeah, what's your thoughts on it, Mr. Waylon?
My thoughts. I think it's solid. I think it's a top 3 album for them. That's what I think. And I love Limp Bizkit.
I like Limp Bizkit. Don't get me wrong. I think they put on an amazing show.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on it, Mr. Waylon? Hang on.
I've saw them get booed off stage in Chicago after one song. And then I've seen them conquer a whole crowd of like 100,000 people. So I've seen like both spectrums. But I think the album lacked aggression. Like we all know Fred Durst's aggression, like break stuff. Think about his Woodstock, appearance. Like the grit and the aggression, is what we all loved about Limp Bizkit. At least that's what I loved. I still think this album's all right. It's not bad. I think it leans more in vocally. I think it leans more in a hip hop direction.
Yeah,
like the guitar riffs and like the DJ Lethal stuff is still all good, but I definitely think it leans more in a hip hop way. Like, I mean, he's talking about dad bods, not about breaking stuff.
Yeah.
You definitely don't hear it like you would like in $3 bill, y'all. You don't hear nothing like that at all. It's was it counterfeit, that album, or is it $3 bill, y'all? I think it's $3 bill, y'all.
Dude, I love that opening track on this new album, that Out of Style. I think that's still got like plenty of that aggression, and
I think that's the strongest song on the album.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they switched it up a lot. I think, but given the current landscape, is it not a good idea probably to lean more toward the hip hop side?
Well, that's what I was going to say. If you're looking to make money, with the current way music is playing, he's definitely better off going that direction. So I mean, I hold no grudge against them for doing that. But
you got like that "Turn It Up" bitch is like very Cypress Hill. Yeah, I love
that. This album is like it's only streaming platforms too. It's not even on physical copy.
Yeah, that's what they said. There's literally no physical copies anywhere.
Yeah, you got to stream it. That's it.
I did hear Wes Borland say at one point before the album came out that the music had been done for quite a while, but that Fred kept changing the lyrics and the vocals like every month. Like he would record something and then he would erase it and re-record it.
Wonder why.
I don't know. I mean, I know he's a perfectionist. A lot of people are. But I think it'd been 10 years since they released the album. I think he knew expectations were really high. But I don't know.
Maybe his lyrical content was just not, kosher. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's like, I need to change this up and do that. But just like you said, BJ, you can be your own worst enemy at doing this. For sure.
I mean, if you think about it, it's a whole different era now.
Yeah.
Than it was when they released their hits or even their last couple albums. So, I mean, music's changed drastically. I mean, think of like At the Gates. They released the album with Slaughter the Soul, which is like the iconic, like heavy metal, like song. And they didn't release anything for like 15, 20 years because they were like, we can't touch it. We'll never beat that. So we don't want to release anything else. And then finally, like enough people begged them and they released a new album. And of course, it didn't live up to what Slaughter of the Soul was, but it was still great. But I mean, I guess those bands that like really hit it off when they're young and they have all those creative juices flowing.
You know what? I think go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't interrupt you.
They're not going to reproduce the same type of stuff they did back then.
No, and I think that's one of the things that I like about, like you were talking about, that there is a certain lack of aggression, and there are some softer songs on this album, like per capita, probably more than any other Limp Bizkit album. But I think they make perfect sense for where they're at in life at this point. Like they're 50-year-old men. They don't have that same level of angst anymore. I kind of think it's cool that like it's like there's a lyric on the album where he says something about gave up on the fitted. You know what I mean? And like he's just they're moving on, doing something different. They're still like if you watch that Lollapalooza set from this year, dude, they still ran that place. It was awesome.
Yeah. They always have a good live show. I mean, whether you like them or not, their live show is great.
Yeah.
And they'll always have those old songs to play, to get people pumped. I mean, it's like going back to Blink-182. I don't remember if it was Mark Hoppus or Tom DeLonge, but one of them said that it's tremendously hard for them to write lyrics like in the same vein as they always have because, back then they were talking about being 23 and like spilling apple juice and all this, and now they're like, they have a lot of money and they don't have as many problems and, they're just dads, so I understand like as someone who's wrote a book and been a writer the most of his life, I understand whenever you get a little older in life and become a parent that your inspirations die down a little bit. You're not living that, lifestyle that you was when you were younger and made all those like cool memories.
Man, and wasn't it at Woodstock where they had the where Fred got everybody to I don't know, they burnt. There was a fire during one of the songs.
Listen, that was not Fred's fault.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. But still,
no, and it wasn't just because of white males either. Like,
but still, don't
just a
think about
bad
it.
situation, man. Like that's just crowd mentality. Like they were crowded in there, they didn't have anything to drink, didn't have proper facilities. It was hot, no food, no water. It's just people are going to act crazy when that happens.
Well, speaking of, let's roll that into the Astroworld thing.
Astroworld. Oh yeah, that's horrible, man.
So was it 4 people died? Was it 4?
That was 8.
8?
Yeah.
I know one was like a 9-year-old kid or 14-year-old kid or something.
See, that's ridiculous. That's got to stop.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but Waylon, you've probably been to a lot of metal shows, like been in the pit and stuff like that. John, I know you've been to a lot of festivals and stuff. In the metal community, and I've been in a ton of mosh pits, like all around the country. And if somebody falls down, everybody stops and picks them up, whether they're in the pit or anywhere.
Yeah, I think for the most part that is part of the culture of heavy music, but then also like it's kind of putting on blinders to say that this kind of shit has never happened at a rock or metal concert because you can Google top 10 concert tragedies right now, like I just did, in fact. And so we had 8 people die at this Astroworld thing, right? My point being that I don't think it's genre specific. I think it's just crowd crush happens, things of that nature happens. Yep. Like right here, Great White was playing a 250
when it caught
capacity.
On fire.
Yeah. 100 people died.
Sorry. It's like a domino effect though when you're in a mosh pit.
Was that in Rhode Island?
That was in New York.
New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's in Rhode Island, New York.
Oh,
that
was
see? That was on that was on the news not long ago too again. With that happening.
Yeah. That's not even the biggest number of casualties in one that's happened at a rock concert either.
So is Dime the number one tragedy?
Well, I mean,
no. I mean that's a band. It's different than fans.
It sucks, but there was 165 people that died in a fire in Kentucky in the Beverly Hills Supper Club in Southgate, Kentucky in 1977.
Never heard of that place in my life.
It was a 600 capacity room. It had 3,000 people in it. Fire broke out. Blah blah blah. Roof collapsed. They didn't know how many people died until the next day. They pulled 165 bodies out of the fire.
Wow.
What was the place called? What's the name of it?
It was Beverly Hills Supper Club.
And who was playing?
They don't have a dollar menu there, John.
Crap.
John Davidson.
Don't know who it is.
But I just think it's like, I think that a lot of rock fans are very angsty about the fact that hip hop is dominating the charts the way it is right now. And as such, they're like, oh, an opportunity to throw off on rap and make it look like this only happens at rap concerts. And that's just very disingenuous.
I don't think it's the artist's fault about what happened. I think the Travis Scott guy, he did stop the show at some point. But it's not his job to watch fans and see who's fault. I mean, that's why they have security.
Have you looked into it very much, though?
Just a little, not a whole lot.
Okay. There's like one video of him standing there while they are like the crowd is literally surfing a lifeless body up out of the crowd and like getting this guy out of the crowd, right? And he's standing there still humming into the mic and auto-tuning his voice and shit and watching this happen, staring at this guy. And then like I've heard reports that Live Nation told them to call off the show at like 9:38 and he continued to play until like 9:50 or till like 10:15.
Yeah, wow.
And
I've seen a video where he stopped the show at one point and was saying, "Is that guy okay?"
Yeah.
So
I think, but there was a lot of mishandling in that situation. I think the blame is shared all around. Like the people in that crowd that the people that broke in, and he encouraged people to break in. Like there's videos of like hundreds of people breaking down the security points at the venue and rushing in earlier that day. And he had actually like posted it to his Instagram story or something of that nature, like, and showed people where the security checkpoints were and encouraged them to fucking gate crash and overcrowd the place.
Well, I was at a concert once that was overcrowded, and me and John he mentioned the show the other day, but it was called Sounds of the Underground Tour. It's like in 2003. And it was the only concert to ever be held at Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville. And they had it behind it, and the fences were up from like years ago or whatever, and like there was bands that got added to this festival that played for free simply just so they could say they played that venue, which wasn't even a venue. It was just like a haunted sanatorium. So like it was like Lamb of God, Guar, Job for a Cowboy, Shadows Fall, Behemoth,
Cannibal
Devil
Corpse.
Wears Prada. I don't know. It's
name a band I don't like.
I know, right? It was like the who's who of like bands. Like everybody there was great, but these people were climbing under the fence or cut through the fence, and a guy that I'm acquaintance with booked the show. And he was telling me, like 700-800 people, maybe more, snuck in the show, and it caused like people couldn't get to the water station or where they were selling drinks or whatever. So like there were people like literally passing out from heat exhaustion. Like they eventually drove a truck in there and just started like chucking bottles of water everywhere.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely like capacity matters.
Yeah, it's not a new issue either, though. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the thing that I think that gets overlooked a lot. And I'm sure that there were people in that crowd who were trying to help other people, and that just isn't getting talked about. You know what I mean? Like,
see, there you go.
There was a lot of with Travis Scott's fan base. The thing is, like, there's a lot of young people in that fan base, very young people that are very, I don't want to say obsessed with clout, but like they want internet clout, right? They want to have the closest video on their phone. You know what I mean? They want to like catch the people that are like dancing on top of the police vehicles that are trying to get in and get people out, things of that nature. And they're young. They're not a part of this festival going culture. They don't know what the etiquette is. So they come in there and stuff like this starts happening, and it leads to tragedy just because they're young and inexperienced and don't know. But like I said, I don't think it's a new experience. I don't think it's a new occurrence.
Yeah, I think these people that aren't seasoned concert goers, and there's a huge difference between going to a regular club show and going to a festival. Like, if you're a seasoned festival goer, you have a lot more like knowledge than you would just going to club show. It's like two different types of like people.
For sure. Yeah.
But I just feel like, these people could easily learn like a handful of things that will help them like make their weekend better.
Right. You think this is something that's kind of generational? Like this happens generationally, like there's a big tragedy like this, and then it leads to everybody becoming more aware of it, and then you go several years without it until a new generation gets into attending these kind of things, and then something horrible happens, and the cycle just repeats.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because like a lot of the worst ones on this top 10 are from around the early 2000s, so about 20 years ago. It's like there's been a total change in the demographic of who's attending these kinds of things now, and like just in general, if you've got over 5,000 people in an area, it's going to be a pretty lawless environment. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to control thousands of people.
Folks, if you have a question, please drop it in here. We'll answer it best we can. And please, if you don't mind, go and subscribe to BODS Mayhem Hour on YouTube and give us a like and subscribe. I would tremendously appreciate it. So we're chatting with BJ Rowe, editor-in-chief of Metal Nexus, and my other bro, Waylon Whitson, from the Technicolor Nightmare. So we're going to be talking about all kinds of things. And I'm going to jump back on here about that because, you both are right. There's two different concert goers. I've been to many festivals. I know what to expect at a festival, and it seems like, and I love going to Louder Life. I love going to all these festivals, but it just seems like ever since their existence, man, it's gotten better and better with stuff that, one year didn't do right. The next year it's, everything flows. And I like how they've got, things accessible. Things are very easy accessible at these festivals. So
that's one thing about it is DWP always puts on good festivals.
Yeah,
I will tell you this. I've been to festivals by other promoters, and it is like daylight and dark. Like both from just a normal fan perspective, like going as a fan and going as media or press. Like it's daylight and dark. Like DWP is hands down like the gold standard.
Yeah,
when it comes to festivals. I mean, look at what happened at Blue Ridge this year. And I went I went to the first year of Blue Ridge Rock Fest. First year it ever happened, about 4 or 5, maybe about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a sort of a train wreck then, but the one main reason I went was to see the band Dope, and they loaded in and everything. I did an interview with Edsel, and they ended up leaving because they got in a fight with Scott Stapp over a drum riser.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, and then I had an interview with Jay Gordon of Orgy, which I did interview him, which I never posted the interview because he was like in a horrible mood because Scott Stapp was closing the show, and then Orgy was playing the after show, and Scott Stapp wouldn't come out of his dressing room until everybody had left the building. So they made Orgy move out of their dressing room into like a pool house. Like, it's like, get out of here, let Scott come downstairs, Creed.
Yeah, but didn't they shut that down early too?
Yeah.
That
Yeah. Orgy played 2 songs and then they cut the power on him. And he literally jumped off stage and walked right through the crowd asking who was in charge. He was so pissed. And then,
So
I mean, I didn't go this year. I don't know what all happened other than the hearsay. Like, you'll talk to like 4 or 5 people and they'll be like, oh, I had the best time ever. But, it took me 6 hours to get there.
They're actually, I just now saw a press release they just released today that they're doing Blue Ridge next year, but under new management and ownership.
It's probably still that dude. And like, I've met him a couple times. And he used to run this show over there called the Chili Cook-Off. And I know at one point, I didn't witness this, but someone told me that he didn't make as much as he thought he was, and he couldn't cover the band's guarantee, so he was trying to duck out on them.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's
but there was also some news release that came out that he owed the city of Lynchburg like $200,000 or something.
Wow.
Because he does a country festival there too.
I've always wanted to do like a festival, but I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into that, and there's just too much. Just too much stuff to even handle, to even remotely close to handle.
I wouldn't care to promote like a club show or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's no way ever I will throw my hat in the festival game. I mean,
no.
Danny Wimmer has perfected that. There's no reason I should even attempt it.
No.
Speaking of, what I was going to tell you about what I've heard from Danny Hayes, he is in Louisville this week, working on seeing if they can get Bourbon and Beyond back next year.
Oh, good, nice.
So he doesn't know if it's going to come back next year or the year after, but he should know this month. Then he said Rock in the Range could come back next year, but it's possibly more likely for the year after. And he said the same thing about Epicenter. Epicenter is not going to happen next year. Probably a 2023 thing.
So all these concerts or these festivals should be coming back 2023, hopefully.
At least. And he said there's a slight chance that Rock on the Range could be back. Not Rock on the Range, Sonic Temple could be back next year.
I'm used to calling it Rock on the Range.
Yeah, yes. I am too. I still call Epicenter Carolina Rebellion.
Yeah.
Too, so.
Yeah.
So the Carolina Rebellion will never be at wherever it was the last time I went. They moved it back to Concord there at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It was in Rockingham. That's where it was. And boy, was it a nightmare.
Really?
Yeah. Traffic. It wasn't really their fault. It was the state police that were moving traffic. It's a very, very, very small. There's not even a hotel in the town.
Wow.
Because it's at an old racetrack, but the racetrack hasn't been on the NASCAR circuit in like 20 years.
Yeah.
So all the businesses that fed off the NASCAR tourism aren't there no more.
Yeah, that was a booming place when Rockingham was open because that was one of the other than Charlotte, Daytona, that was one of the major tracks for them. And I remember when they said that they was getting rid of Rockingham, and I was like, what? Ain't no way, because that's one of the coolest short tracks in NASCAR that I thought they had other than Bristol. But now Bristol's like a big Daytona speedway in my opinion because you don't have that. You still got the bumping and stuff going on, but accidents are less. There's this like you got 4 cars that can go into the turn and what 4 wide and stuff. It's like man, I miss the old the 2 cars only battling out. I just hate it now. Hate it. That's just me though. Oh, but yeah.
Man, I could watch a fly go around a light bulb, and it amuse me just as much as NASCAR does. It's just
I'm
left
watching
turn.
racing. If I'm
Left
watching
turn.
racing, I'm watching like GT, like Grand Touring cars and shit.
Oh,
like
he
that.
made
Those
another
cars,
left turn and another left turn.
It does nothing for me.
Yeah.
But let's talk about All Hail the Yeti.
Yeah, that's a great album. Well, I want to call it an album, man. I mean, Jesus, there's like 7 or 8 songs on it. Might as well 7. Might as well call it an album, in my opinion.
Yeah. There's all kinds of defining points. Some say over 7 tracks. Some people say if it's over 60 minutes, like who cares? It's called a release.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's beautiful.
This album is I've streamed it ever since I got Spotify, man. I have not stopped listening to this album. In fact, I listened to it today again. So I've listened to it at least 6 or 7 times already. So bury your memory when that first kicks in. Goodness gracious, man, you're on a ride as soon as it kicks in.
Rang's calling it an EP. So
yeah, it is an EP, but
Cold Dead Leaves. The whole album, or I'm sorry, the whole EP is good. But yeah, I dig this, man. This is well worth the wait from All Hail the Yeti.
I mean, man, in 2018, Highway Crosses is one of my favorite albums of the year. I mean, I think at that time, Connor had these like really aggressive like rock vibes going on, and it had these really hooky choruses, and it really hit, man, and like those lyrics will just stick with you. And what I like about it is, with like Within the Hollow Earth, like it's a much more like grunge vibe. Like I get a lot of Alice in Chains harmonizing vocals type feel, but it's still got those hooks that kind of catches you.
Yeah, it pulls you right into it. If you're straggling away just for a little bit, it brings you right back into it.
Yeah, they can really play with their style a lot, and I really like their new stuff. Like I like everything they've released. I've been a fan of them since their self-titled album come out. But the lead singer Connor, who's also a great tattoo artist, by the way, like it's like artist from top to bottom. Dude can do anything. Like both him and I are huge Dax Riggs fans, the vocalist of Acid Bath and Solo or whatever. So like we've kind of bonded over that and like how much we both love his music. So I think he draws a lot of inspiration from like lesser known bands than like, beyond the beaten path.
Yeah, and I'm actually interviewing Connor tomorrow for an upcoming episode of BODS Mayhem Hour. So that's gonna be good. Really good. Yeah, I have nothing ill. I have nothing ill to say about this this EP.
This is actually the first time I've heard of them, and I was just
really
that. Yeah.
Oh man, it's great.
I see on the EP review from Kerrang, they're mentioning like Pantera and Down and I Hate God and Alice in Chains in the same review, and I'm like, oh okay, all right, well,
it's a mixture. Yeah, it's a mixture of everything into one. If you like heavy grunge stuff, I mean, it is. It's just like BJ said, Connor's vocals is growly. They put you in mind of the old grunge style. But my God, man, this band, I don't think they've had a bad album out at all.
They've never had a bad album. And it's almost like every album changes a little. Like their style changes a little bit for the better.
Yeah. But they still stay true.
You think that we're going to see like maybe not necessarily it actually be grunge music, but like a grunge 2.0 like kind of movement in rock music soon?
Possibly.
I think that's something that I think is going to happen.
I don't think soon. Here's what I'm predicting is I'm predicting a huge like pop punk like craziness because I mean, as bad as you hate to say it, like you can hate MGK all day. I hate the trash talk that he does, but his music isn't horrible for pop punk. And anything that Travis Barker puts his fingers on is great. And I mean, he's playing drums on freaking everything. I mean, Will
like
Smith's
converse,
daughter,
like
Smith, he plays drums on her album.
Yeah,
her
and
stuff is good, dude.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
Her stuff is really good.
Have
I
you
like
heard
it a
that with
lot.
Avril Lavigne? That song that she put
No,
out. That's the best one I've heard.
what
wow,
was
there was
her?
one. I can't think of
Travis
the name of the
Barker
one I
plays
saw.
drums on that. You need to listen to
Yeah,
that one. And
I
then
will.
Avril, who has been like the pop princess, for the longest time, just released another punk pop song, like back to her like skater boy roots type sound. So with
You mean
her,
Avril's body double?
yeah, Machine Gun Kelly, like I mean, it just proves that Chad Kroger hasn't like poisoned her mind.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize that she's married to the lead singer of Nickelback. So,
What was Jada Pinkett's band called?
Wicked Wisdom.
Okay, so her daughter that you guys are talking about,
She
did
played a cover of one of their songs for
she
Jada's
nailed it.
birthday.
Yeah, and they freaking nailed it.
Well, I will tell you this: I met Jada Pinkett Smith in 2004 at Ozfest in Nashville
Mhm.
because that band paid to be one of the acts on the tour. And as you know, they're like a Christian metal band. So after they performed, they were out witnessing to people in the crowd.
Wow, I didn't know
And
that.
and at the time, like people's like, she's not as well known as like Will Smith or something. So like, is that Will Smith's wife? And at the time, I mean, we didn't really have like the bumping internet like Wikipedia shit like we have now.
Mhm.
So, like you can't just get on your phone and Google and be like, who is this?
So you think
So
that basically the way I've been looking at it is that for the past 10, 15 years or so, maybe like 10 really, like really strongly, in the past 10 years or so, heavy music has been trending toward this like hyper polished, like super aesthetic looking thing, like the gent bands, for instance, all with like their Viking side shaved haircuts and their leather pants, and like I feel like we're in like the second era of like it's not hair metal, but the vibe is
Black Veil
very
Brides,
similar.
basically.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like so we're in like a second era of like this hyper produced, like made to be mainstream accessible kind of rock music. And
The like super polished stuff, I blame on like Pro Tools and
yeah,
like people that can do stuff at home. They don't have to worry about anything. Me personally, I'm much more of like a sludge person. So I like that like unpolished, like crusty, like
rawness. Yeah.
like raw type stuff. I don't like live music on record. Like I like to experience live music, but I don't like live
Mm.
recordings. But I like that live element, like to where I think as a band, you've got to be able to reproduce what you do in the studio on stage. If you
Mm-hmm.
can't reproduce it within like a 87%, match, then you shouldn't record it.
Absolutely, yeah. If you honestly, I feel like you should be able to top what you do in the studio by the
Yeah.
time you get into a stage. Like, but I think I agree with that entirely. I trend towards things that are raw, more raw, and I think that the overall like zeitgeist of rock music is starting to come around to wanting more of that again. Rather than this like everything is perfectly aligned to a grid and it's like super duper polished and like they record riffs at half speed and then speed them up so they can play it as just hyper clean as possible. I think people are dying for something genuine out of rock and metal
Yeah.
music, and there are some bands that are doing that and they're like really doing well for themselves right now.
I
think it's
thought that whenever Rival Sons and Greta Van Fleet came out and started getting so popular, I thought that was going to be the second coming of like psychedelic rock, like 70s style rock. And they did like bring a bunch of like young people into like the metal or rock world, but there hasn't been enough bands come out to help it grow.
What about Dirty?
boys, they just can't get people to come up to the shows, you know.
What about Dirty? What about Dirty Honey? They're a good
Yeah,
rock
I love
band.
they're a
those
great
guys,
band.
dude. They're
Yeah.
so good. And like the thing is, like you see these little, I think that they're like little harbingers. You know what I mean? These little like isolated events where bands that have this more raw and classic kind of feel to them come out and do really well. Like Dirty Honey, they released their first single, went straight to #1 on mainstream rock charts. Their first single, first thing they ever did. And then like, you know, Greta Van Fleet's huge, and then like you said, Rival Sons, like Black Pistol Fire is a pretty good
great
example
band.
of that too.
I've interviewed them a couple times. They're great guys.
Yeah, they're really good, man. I like their stuff a lot. But I think that stuff's out there. It's just not time just yet. I think people are going to have to go through this pop punk phase, and then they're going to be like, okay, all right, we're ready for something a little grungier, a little more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I've always said that the best music is always the hardest one to find. Like it's like, you know, going back to like cassette days. It's like you dig to the bottom of the pile, you're going to find something really good. You know, and I think there's like a ton of like foreign bands or like local bands, and like we've kind of halted it at the moment because the guy that really wrote the most articles for this series that we did, it was called State of the Art, and every month we would pick a state, and we would go through every Monday, and all our writers would write about a local band from that state. So, and we would say they'd have to have like less than like 1,500 Facebook follows. That was kind of our cutoff.
Damn it.
You know, so we got smaller bands. It might not even have been 1,500. It might have been like 5,000 or something. I don't remember.
Oh, we make that cut.
Like we found so many great bands like that. And we wouldn't always just pick bands that we already knew. We would just like go searching Bandcamp for like Alabama band. You know, Arizona band or whatever. And dude, we really come out with some gems like of bands that I still listen to this day. Like there's a Texas band called Blues Funeral that is like one of my favorite bands now, just because I found them, and like nicest guys ever, super accomplished musicians that put out great music.
Yeah, there's a lot of great bands out there that just aren't getting the attention yet, and that's what I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is you've seen a few breakthrough cases of people that do this kind of more. More raw would be the only way I know how to describe it. More raw, genuine kind of rock sound, and there's been a few breakthrough cases of them. But I think there are like 100 bands out there that could be huge that are just waiting in the wings for the right wave to swell. You know what I mean?
I just think like right now during the pandemic, a lot of these bands kind of missed a golden opportunity. I know a lot of bands are, you know, still writing, still putting stuff out there, but who knows, man? There's still a diamond in the rough out there during this pandemic. Wait and see. There's a band out there.
Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be some kids that like were bored at home and didn't have to go to school, like picked up some instruments and started playing.
Yep.
You know, there's going to be some of those. Like, I mean, like Corey Taylor's son's band. You know?
Vended? Is it Vended? Yeah, Vended. Yeah, they're good. I like it.
I think it's got some legs under it, but I don't think it's quite there yet. I think they need a little bit more experience.
That's gonna come with the territory. I mean, it's just like any other thing. Just keep growing and growing and growing. I like to get them on the show. So many people I'd get on this show.
I think what was I gonna say?
I'm sorry.
I know that, for instance, you were talking about like kids picking up instruments during this pandemic thing. I know for a fact there's like at least 3 in my family alone that young guys in my family that picked up instruments, and they're now starting to learn, and I'm excited to see where that goes. But
Waylon was like, "You're gonna pick this up. You're gonna do it now."
Hell no, I was the exact opposite, dude. I was like, "Nah, you can't have a guitar." And that way, like Jackson, my son, if he wanted one, he was gonna have to prove it. He's gonna have to bug this shit out of me about it. You know what I mean? I can't imagine that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said, don't do like your daddy did.
Yeah, don't follow this path, son. It ain't no good. But no, I just wanted him to be interested in it on his own. Like I don't think that like pressuring a kid into it is going to do anything good for them as a musician if that's what they want to do. Like they're going to have to find it on their own.
Yeah,
I think my biggest worry for like the next generation of like not just musicians but like people that's going to be adults and eventually is attention span.
Yeah.
Like in the 6 years that Metal Nexus has been around, we've noticed like drastic changes in how much of our content people read, and half the time it's just people share it with just reading the title, and you have to base your titles 90% of the time on like, or your articles just on the title. And I mean, people will joke all the time about clickbait, but if you don't put some clickbait in there, they're not going to have anything to do with it.
See, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. And I've even been thinking about that, doing that for my podcast, but still, I just kind of feel, you know what I'm saying? I just, oh, man.
You gotta hook them, because people have a negativity bias. They pay more attention to negative things than they do positive things.
Yeah.
So you hook them with a clickbaity kind of negative title, and then you explain it with more nuance and context in the body of the article for people who are actually going to pay attention. And then the people who share it by just reading the headline and they're like mad about it kind of just look like idiots because they didn't read the whole article.
Yeah, I've got all these talented writers that will like write a three-page eloquent review on somebody, but it's like I have to break it to them like, man, listen, you know, they're not going to read all that. I was like, you know, make it as clear, concise, and short as you can, because we're in the like Vine and TikTok era. You know, I think it all started with Vine, with like those 45 or 30-second videos. People got so used to them, they didn't have to like wait for that treat at the end. You know, it's like you get everything media in 30 seconds, you know, and now it's TikTok, it's like 3 minutes or something. So
Vine was 7 seconds when it first started.
Yeah.
Like 7 seconds.
Good
Well,
Lord.
that's like TikTok wasn't TikTok like a minute when it first started, and then they slowly gave people more time.
Yep. It's just crazy to me, man. Like, I'm a journalist also. I write for the newspaper up here in Johnson County, the Paintsville Herald, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
I didn't know people over there could read.
Yeah. A surprising number of them, actually.
I like pictures.
But no, it's... Yeah, you got to put plenty of pictures in there, because if you ain't got them pictures, boys, they ain't going.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out how to turn my website into a pop-up book.
Oh,
I mean, if I could do that, man.
Oh, buddy.
my
I think what you got to do is just write the review, write the article, and then just film it.
Yeah,
like just film it and just post that on YouTube. And
well, there's so many people on YouTube that do reviews, and like, I mean, you got some people that like they'll do them for years and they got like 7 followers, and like they still got that motivation to do it. But then you got like guys like the Needle Drop, you know, that reviews everything on Earth, and somehow, man, like, I mean, he's super, like, he's not like, there's nothing crazy about him. Like, he knows his stuff. He's not like super funny. He's not super exciting or scary, or he's like a music nerd, you know. And I don't know, somehow it worked, and he's made a career out of it. But
so you don't think? So are you? You wouldn't want to try to YouTube because you think it's like too oversaturated, or like?
Well, we do put all our video interviews on YouTube.
Okay.
Gotcha. So, and it's just kind of hit or miss, you know, how well those do. Like my Phil Anselmo interview did pretty well. My Greta Van Fleet interview did pretty well.
Yep.
You know, I think it just takes so long to build a fan base, and you got to connect with them. And it's all about like flooding the market with content.
Right.
You know, and if you don't keep it coming out, that's the hard thing about like building a viewership with video interviews. You know, they don't want to watch a video on YouTube of an audio interview. Like, you know, they want to see people's faces and reactions and stuff.
Yeah.
So we put our video interviews on there. But, you know, whenever it's not festival season, you know, it's hard to get a bunch of them at one time. You know,
here's
where
my
you can put one out every week.
Okay, so here's my question. I do, you know, you guys both know I do tons of interviews, especially Zoom interviews.
First time hearing of it. Didn't know.
But bad PJ. But anyway, see, that's my problem. I do interviews and I post like once a week, and I feel like I'm losing, you know, people that way. Because I feel like I should put more interviews out a week, but I don't want to oversaturate it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to give it time to breathe, because me and Waylon's talked about this before.
It's a double-edged sword, brother.
Exactly.
It could work with you. It could work against you. You just never really know. The way that I've done it is, you don't want to sit on interviews, do a bunch and sit on them because your content's going to get old.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'd do a little while, like bust a few out and try 2 or 3 a week, and then only do one a week for like a month or two,
See
and
how
just
it goes.
mix it up.
See, and I've got so many interviews that I've not posted to YouTube yet, but they're audio interviews, and I'm still trying to go back and get them. It's just like you said, man. It's a double-edged sword, and it's just hard to keep people's attention and that attention there, and and I don't want to oversaturate anything because I feel like I already do.
It's very much a balancing act. And I think
It
that's what
is.
the big one is that you got to put out enough to keep people engaged and keep them regularly checking back, but you can't put out so much that there's like, oh, there's another thing for most people.
Yeah,
Slap that
exactly.
out of the way and going about my business.
Exactly.
I think the best thing I could say, and I've been guilty of not doing this myself, is just to stay motivated and just keep putting out content.
It's hard to stay motivated. It is, but it ain't. There's so much balance of this. You have to have a balance of it. There's good days and bad days. But I always find myself coming back to it. That's for sure.
Like when I'm doing stuff for the band and promoting that kind of stuff, like I just whenever the motivation takes me, or the inspiration takes me, and if it doesn't, that's fine. I've generally found that like the way that we've built our audience was very organic, and we've done it through just like connecting with individual people, on a one-to-one basis throughout a long period of time.
I think that's the best way to do it, because you know that your fan base is tried and true if you do it that way. And
I always subscribe to that 1,000 true fans model.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Trying to get.
I would rather have 15 diehard fans than 5,000 people that just clicked like just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
But like, I can't even remember what I was going to say. I know people that like run media outlets similar to mine, and like they've bought likes, bought follows, and all this. So I mean, that's all well and good to have those numbers, but if those people aren't interacting with your page, then it's not going to matter. It's it's all about the traffic and the engagement is what's going to matter. It's not just the number of follows.
That's all I look at when I go to somebody's page. I'm like, okay, blah blah blah, number of likes, whatever, doesn't matter. I scroll down and I look at the engagement. And if they're averaging like 50, 60 reacts on a post, that's a pretty big page.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just 50, 60 people that like your stuff, and like sometimes even 20, 30, depending on what you're doing. You know what I mean? It's all about the engagement. So that's why and then I find too that when you have built that in that organic way, like buying likes and shit makes no sense to me, because it looks good on its face, I guess, whenever somebody goes and checks your stuff out. But like at the end of the day, if those people, like you said, aren't engaging, it's worthless.
I think I think the big worry is like when you're under 1,000 or something like that, people worry whether you're legit or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like as far as like a media outlet, it's I guess a little different for a band. But once you hit that hump of like 1,000 or so, people are like, "Oh, well, this is legit. There's 1,000 people that like this, so this is
the 100th monkey effect."
Yeah, and like I thought that like we hit this huge stride where like we was getting like 5,000 new followers like a month, and when we hit like 20,000 or something like that, it was like plateau. It's like, oh, we found every metalhead in the country, or in the world.
Wonder why that is. What do you think attributes to that?
I don't know, man. If it's just
I would just say oversaturation with a lot of stuff, man. You know what I mean? And
I don't think it's that. I think it's like you've maybe networked as far as it goes there for a little bit. I mean, it's growing a little bit now, but I mean, it's like almost stagnant there for a while. Like when it hit 20,000.
I think that happens. You see that a lot though, like in similar pages. Like as a band page, right?
Yeah.
I know that we're hovering real close to like 5,000, and so when I go look at other band pages, there's a lot of other bands that are hovering around that mark, and then it seems like the next mark is like the 20,000 mark, and there's a lot of bands hovering right around that mark, and then there's like 100,000 tier, and a lot of people. It just seems like it plateaus off a lot like that at certain levels, and they're almost predictable. Like you see people that get around that 1,000 mark, they stay there for a while, and then they make some successes, make some strides. They get up to like 5,000. It plateaus there for a little bit.
I tell you what, I always
is.
love that. Like, I probably shouldn't love this, but like, our staff writer Robbie posts all these like anniversaries every day, like, and like he does like all kinds of like historical stuff. Like he'll find newspaper clippings of shows like from like 35 years ago or album anniversaries, and like he tries to mix them up to where he don't do the same ones every year, you know, and like they'll be really obscure, so people like eat that shit up. So like I'll just be looking like, I mean, I'll be sitting here at work one day or whatever, and my phone's just going ding 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 ding, and I'm like, what in the world is that? And it's like people arguing on the comments on the thread of it. And I mean, like I should be like, oh, I don't want these people arguing, but the engagement's going through the roof. So let them like, you know, cuss each other out for hours. I don't care.
You gotta understand that you can't. You gotta understand that you can't control the zeitgeist of culture either, though. You know what I mean? So like, people are going to argue on Facebook, period, no matter what it's about, all the time.
Yeah.
So there ain't no sense in not just taking that engagement at its face and being like, cool, right on. Y'all keep doing it on my post, I guess. Like,
folks, it's after 9 and BJ has to head out, so he needs to get on the road. So this is going to conclude another Friday episode of BODS Mayhem. Aaron, I know Waylon wants to say something. Go ahead, Waylon.
Limp Bizkit album score, BJ. What do you give it?
Still sucks. 5.
Yeah. You like 5?
Yeah.
I'd give it like a 7. I think it's good, and I've enjoyed what I've listened to of it, but I think that like Golden Cobra was better.
I've always been the type of guy that I don't give number scores usually. Like, you know, on our website, we don't give number scores because I feel like people just look at that number and they don't read what you actually think about it. You know, your input. But yeah, if I would say it's half good, half bad.
Yeah, I'm still on the fence about it. There's like I agree with Waylon. I agree with what you said. There's good songs on it, and there's some songs that is next. You know,
like
I do want to know.
I would agree with that.
Now that you're finding out who all the hell the Yeti is, I'd like you to listen to that album and you PM me. Let me know what you think.
Start with the first, man, and build your way up because
I'll listen.
I don't want you to listen to this one and be like, go back and you know the expectation be like, you know what I'm saying?
I will say this: like, listen to Suicide Woods, Highway Crosses. These are singles; those two are Suicide Woods, Highway Crosses, and then listen to the new album and judge the difference in these, like, you know, or whatever. But all of them are good; they don't have anything bad. I think they used a quote from my review and put it like on some release or something. But I said that their last album, I said that it was all thriller, no filler. And I think that's what they do with every album. They're not one of those bands that just throws a filler track on there so they can get 7 tracks, you know.
All right. Well, I'm going to listen to them and I'm going to let you know what I think. But I also want you to listen to my band's album and let me know what you think.
Well, the only thing I can say is I'll like every part but Nathaniel's just so I can give him shit about it.
Well, he's not on the album, so
that makes it even better then.
He joined post album.
No, I know Nathaniel really well, so I'll just like to give him some shit.
Dude, he has really like he never played keys a day in his life before he joined our band.
He's a drummer, right?
Yeah. And he has really taken to it, man. Like, it's been amazing to watch how quickly he's picked that up.
He's just a really artistic person.
Yeah.
But he's just super creative.
Didn't hurt who his dad was either. But,
all right. Go ahead.
I was just saying, yep. Move along.
Yep. All right, folks. Next Friday, Metal Claus will be here. Yeah. Metal Claus will be here next Friday because he got very upset because I called him Santa Bod. So I was like, okay, all right. So I want to thank BJ for being on here as always. I'm super supporter of Metal Nexus ever since the first day, and I'd like to have you back on here again, man, so we can have another big discussion, maybe a little bit longer next time. For sure.
Anytime,
I've been following Metal Nexus for years myself because local boy doing that kind of shit on a real good scale. I was like, hell yeah, man.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on, man. That was nice talking to you.
My pleasure.
So next Friday, I don't know what we're going to do yet with Metal Claus. He's not emailed me back, so I think I kind of upset him. But he said he's checking his list and checking it twice, and you know he's going to find out who's naughty or nice. And he's very upset with those Island Boys too. So he's making a song about that. So next Friday, you definitely want to tune in to BODS Mayhem, our live podcast, because he's in told me he's got a song about it. And I just said, all right, man. Okay, that's totally fine. Totally fine.
Oh man.
So he's practicing. And he said he'd like to have it in the vein of like Black Label side. And I went, no. Don't you include Black Label with those guys. No. Nay. So he said, okay. So he's gonna do his own thing with that. So next Friday, please tune in, and we're going to also talk about Black Label Society's Doom Crew Incorporated album. Comes out Black Friday. And just a little tidbit, I will have a Doom Crew signed Zakk Wylde CD to give away. Coming up here very shortly. Plus a BODS Mayhem Hour shirt to go with it. So... And
nice.
Maybe BJ's got something from Metal Nexus. We'll do something. We'll do like a bundle or something like that if it's cool with you.
Man, I've always got stuff to give away. Actually, I just got a vinyl in the mail over here that I haven't even reviewed yet. So maybe I can review that and throw it in.
Sure. There you go. Yeah, we'll make a big bundle to give to you guys.
I don't even know what band it is yet.
And I'm give away smiles and winks.
There you go. And I'm going to do this too.
Waylon will wear nothing but a smile in a week.
Yeah, I'll come in here.
What a gift that is.
And I'm going to do this too. I never have done this before, but Metal Claus is wanting people to just random people who follow the podcast can come in and talk to me and Waylon and, tell us stuff and relay it to him. Or if he's on here, we could tell him and Waylon. Because he needs to talk to Waylon too. Because he said, Waylon, I got to talk to Waylon. I was like, okay, all right. So he knows, Waylon. He knows.
Yeah.
He knows. But anyway,
shit.
He would like people to come in here and talk with us and, just talk about metal for a little bit and, what you want for Christmas and go on, things like that. And I think it's going to be cool. Metal Claus is looking forward to this. So, honestly, BJ, thank you so much for being on here and Waylon, as always.
Pleasure.
Thank you all. We will see you next Friday, folks, and this
thank
Monday.
You guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to each and every single one of you beautiful people out there. And this Monday on BODS Mayhem, our podcast, I have Kyle Thomas from Exhorter going to be on the podcast. So you want to check that out. All right, folks, we'll see you next Friday. Metal Claus will be here. See you all. Thanks.